You have to be really intentional about putting a team together.
Crawled out of the pound and started screaming.
How good is Joey Bosa?
Rolling, looking, throwing, end zone, touchdown, intercepted. Derwin James. Derwin was there.
You got to be on a mission every day in the NFL. But even more than that, you got to be on a mission together.
Great hands, Keenan Allen.
The Los Angeles Chargers select Rashawn Slater.
Asante Samuel Jr.
That was late. Oh, I'm stopping y'all boys. I can't catch it.
Intercepted. Picked up by Michael Davis. Explosiveness from Eckler. There's Murphy. Boy, he blew that up, didn't he? It is picked off. Nasir Adderley. 50-50 ball is 100%. Mike Williams.
Ochena Nwosu. And that will end it.
Time to bolt up.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LAFB Network. Today's show, of course, is being brought to you by Charger Bolt Family, UFC Fit, Brewery X, and Manscaped. Make sure to use the promo code LAFB20 to get 20% off your next purchase. Go to manscaped.com for more details. If you're joining us live, how is everybody doing? Make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell as we will be continuing to bring you as much Chargers content as we can throughout the regular season. Dan Wolkenstein, preseason week 1 in the books. The Chargers got a victory no matter what way you want to slice it, 13-6 over the Los Angeles Rams. If you want to call it the battle for LA, I guess the Chargers notched one on their belt on Saturday. Whether it's preseason or not, who cares? But damn it, Chargers football was back on television.
We saw a football game, Jake, and we saw a Chargers victory in SoFi against the other folks in LA, the Los Angeles Rams. Chargers win the first head-to-head with fans in the stands. We're going to get all into the Chargers versus the Rams game, some of the recap, quick takeaways on that. We'll also get into some of the key roster cuts that we saw today, as well as maybe an addition or two. We'll also go into the latest in the roster camp battles in terms of who is going to be first, second, third string in certain positions. But Jay, we got a ton of fun in store for folks who are tuning in. Do not hesitate to be a stranger, or excuse me, do not be a stranger. Do not hesitate to call in or to chime in on the comments. Leave a like, leave a subscription, leave a whatever you guys want. We're here to have some fun. Let's be interactive and get after it. So Jake, we are now 1-0 under Brandon Staley. Chargers beat the Rams. Overall, how do you feel about the victory?
Well, remember, for me, I wasn't unfortunately watching the game live. I had to watch it in a different type of a way, considering the fact that my wife's cousin decided to have a wedding on Saturday night that I was at in LA. So I was getting updates on my phone. I was seeing a lot of stuff about Josh Palmer, about this defense, about someone named Rountree that I was really excited to hear about. But I had to go back and watch the rest of the game. But I mean, the biggest takeaway that you have to say, wow, for this defense. Doesn't matter if Derwin James was on the field or not. This defense just looked and it felt different. And that was a great thing.
Yep, I totally agree. Steve Demko, welcome to the show. Let's go. Thank you for joining us. Let's have some fun. Shout out. I love that picture of SoFi. By the way, SoFi looked great at night. I mean, man, that place looked gorgeous. Blue Deftone, friend of the show. Go Bolts. Can't wait for the season to start. Yeah, we agree. Jake, you mentioned it. This defense looks different. I think I saw more blitzes in a preseason game than I had seen throughout the entirety of an Anthony Lynn coaching career.
A Gus Bradley-led defense? Yeah.
My goodness. And one of the things I love most about this defense was it kind of kept you on your toes as just a spectator, where you have no idea what's coming, where it's coming from. Imagine what the offense is thinking. And you saw guys from all over the place contribute. Like, it wasn't the stars. A lot of stars didn't even play. And you're able to see guys like a Chris Rumph succeed. You're able to see a Brandon succeed. We're able to see like your boy, the defensive tackle, succeed. Forrest Merrill is coming out. I mean, we got to see all kinds of stuff. So this defense is different, and you're seeing pressure. And one of the things that Brandon Staley talked about early on was, and you heard Kenneth Murray specifically talk about how excited he was for him to be able to play downhill. That's what I saw from this defense throughout the entirety of the game. Regardless of who was in, this defense was on attack, whether it's Kyzir White, whether it's Drue Tranquill. I mean, the entire defense was attacking. Did you see Asante Samuel just blow up the receiver off of like a 3-yard catch?
He didn't give two shits about what was going to happen on that play, at least to him.
No,
at least to him.
No, and Drue Tranquill, I am so grateful to see him back in pads. And you know how excited this guy must be to be able to be back out there? I mean, he had one blitz, Jake, where I don't think the quarterback even saw it coming and had to throw the ball away without even knowing where it was going to go. He was just praying that it wasn't going to get intercepted. He was shot out of a cannon. This defense is so exciting to watch. And to go from a Gus Bradley cover 3 scheme in which that was literally the pain of everyone's existence every day was watching the same damn thing over and over and over again, to be able to be excited about a Chargers defense. Jake, that is so refreshing. Like, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was really refreshing, especially just I think more so for the fact that there was a lot of defensive starters that didn't play in this game, namely Derwin James. And to see a lot of these 2s and these 3s really put on a really good performance, especially down when it came down to the red zone. But as you mentioned, the play from Drue Tranquill, then the following play from Kyzir White, where he just nails the running back right in the backfield, right when he went out into the flat. I mean, that was a beautiful, beautiful timed play by him. Asante Samuel Jr. is flying around, and then we have to talk about John Brannon. Brannon now for this defense, who I didn't even realize was leading the team in the turnover battle in training camp. Dan, I hadn't heard a peep about this.
Nope.
And then he comes out and gets a great pick right at the end zone.
And for folks who have not seen it, go and check out on the Chargers Twitter. I think they have it on their Instagram as well. The after the game with Brandon Staley talking up John Brannon. And that is the epitome. And what I'm so excited about, Brandon Staley talked about this team winning as a team. It's not about just the stars. Anyone can win the game for them. And you saw that with John Brannon. And you saw how hyped the entire team was for him. I'm getting chills just talking about this, Jake. It was so refreshing to see someone not give a damn who's on the front or back of the jersey as long as it says Chargers. And to see him succeed, to see him get the interception at a pivotal time, regardless if it's a preseason. You think those guys care? Like, they're playing for their lives. And him getting the interception in the end zone, I mean, good grief. Loved that. So we have a ton of topics. We have a ton of questions and comments already flowing in here. So let's go ahead and get through a couple of these folks that are calling in or coming in for the first time. Demetrius Moody coming to us from YouTube. Didn't get to watch the game. How was the receiver battle? Well, in short, I'll answer that by saying, was it really a receiving battle? Josh Palmer, clear wide receiver number 1 in last night's game, or in Saturday's game. I want to say he had 6 for 36, I believe. And like 4 of it was in the first drive. 4 catches was in the first drive. And honestly, he could have gotten far more. He could have done anything he wanted. I think he was a mismatch the entire time. Otherwise, you didn't really see much. I think the next leading receiver, Jake, keep me honest here, I want to say it was 2 catches. I believe I think the next leading receiver had 2 catches. Man. And it was, I'm sorry, Jason Moore had 3 for 31. Jason Moore actually had a good game.
Everyone else, I didn't think it was as low as 2.
Yep. Donald Parham had 2, Jason Moore had 3, and then the rest had 2 or 1. Wide receiving core, to be honest, there wasn't really a battle. You saw Jason Moore, honestly, was, I think, one of the highlights for me. I said it before. Well, first off, Demetrius, thank you for timing in. We'll get to your other questions as we get through here. Jason Moore, I said it when I saw him play. I've seen it all through camp. he is an NFL wide receiver, Jake. And if he's not an NFL wide receiver for the Chargers, he's going to be an NFL wide receiver this year for someone. I promise you. I will put a 6-pack. Want to put a 6-pack on there?
Okay, so hang on a second. There has to be a certain classification here by what you're saying in terms of NFL wide receiver. Okay, so if he doesn't make the Chargers team, if he doesn't make the final 53, yeah, okay, he goes to someone else's team, but if he lands there, that does not mean that you win the bet.
He is going to be playing in NFL games this year, is what I'm saying. Take it. I'll let you know at the end of the broadcast. Okay, fine. Julian Delgado, yo, I'm here for Lightning Bolts. Thank you so much for joining us. Guys, we have special guests coming in today. Not just Julian Delgado, not just Blue Deftone, but we may have someone else be joining us. So stay tuned. Wink, wink. James Wagner's coming in from YouTube. Supercharged. Lots of offseason results. Undeniable and paying off big. God bless you guys. James, God bless you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, lots of things are undeniably paying off big, one of which I think is undoubtedly his coaching scheme. So let's set the stage for a sec. Jake, in terms of like the big key topics that I have, and folks who are listening or watching, if you guys have topics you want to discuss, feel free to send them in. These are kind of my main takeaways. Rashawn Slater. Hashtag thank you Cincinnati for taking Jamar Chase. That's a very long hashtag, but I'm gonna use it.
Keep going down the list because there's more teams than just Cincinnati to think.
Yeah, thank you, Dallas. Rashawn Slater is as advertised. The dude allowed 0 pressures in 21 snaps. He was only supposed to do 10 snaps, but their first possession took almost the entire quarter. So he played the whole time, was mauling folks in the run game, and allowed 0 pressures in the passing game. 21 snaps, Rashawn Slater as advertised. This defense hunts for turnovers. We talked about it earlier. There were many times where this defense was inches close to having a turnover other than the one interception we got. Alohi Gilman is looking good. Drue Tranquill, Kyzir White, we talked to them a little bit earlier, looked very good. Kyzir White is looking damn good. I'm super excited to see what he's going to look like this season. Tristan Vizcaino, 4 syllables.
Somebody made a kick.
Somebody made 2 kicks, Jake, and the opposing team missed 2 kicks.
So much so I almost knocked over my laptop. That's how excited I was just then.
I was knocked over.
Somebody was perfect at 2 for 2 for kicks in a Chargers game, and it was the Chargers kicker that was the kicker for that made those field goals. What?
Talk about pressure. That was probably those are the 2 biggest kicks of his career for Vizcaino so far, trying to make a team. And talk about pressure going into preseason game number 2 for Michael Badgley, given it is now down to just 2 kickers, as one of them has been cut as of today. Kicker Alex Kessman is gone. So Jake, I think that was your guy, right? Initially.
That was the guy. That was the guy I had in early when I had no clue who was going to win this kicking battle. So hopefully nobody followed my advice and my betting advice, because obviously it was horrible. I think the writing was on the wall when we saw Kessman go 2 for 6 at FanFest. I think we all knew that it's like, okay, yeah, he's probably going to be the odd man out as it is right now. But so now your kicking battle is down to 2. Michael Badgley, can he get the money back, or is Tristan Vizcaino going to take his job?
Yep. So imagine what's going through Michael Badgley's head right now. And again, I don't doubt Michael Badgley physically. I think it's all mental. But right now, and I said it when I saw him at FanFest live, Vizcaino's my guy. I think he's going to be the kicker come start of the season. And we might know as soon as right after this Niners game. If we see Michael Badgley go, I don't know, 1 for 3, like, I think it could be quick. So otherwise, you mentioned it earlier, Larry Rountree looked awesome. He made some folks look silly. 8 carries, 63 yards, almost 8 yards per carry. And I had predicted that he scored a touchdown before the game. I didn't get that prediction right, but he looked darn good. Darius Bradwell looked a little light on his feet. I got to give him props for that. Joshua Kelly, not as much in terms of production. He had a lot of carries, but only had 19 yards on 2.4 yards per carry. We talked about it. Josh Palmer looked awesome. A man amongst smaller men, it seemed at times. But one person who is certainly a man amongst smaller men is Donald Parham or Parham.
Jeez.
This dude is all of 6'8" and made a few catches that you're just like, well, it's going to take half a team to get him down. He was dragging people for 5 yards. Talk about a mismatch. Other key takeaways, Jake, for you. Did you get to see Asante Samuel show out? See the highlights of him?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a perfect showing for Asante Samuel Jr., getting his first game time, but that tackle that he had, I mean, thankfully for him, while he basically was just risking life and limb on that tackle, it fortunately put the guy down.
Yep. No, Asante Samuel looks all of the part. I mean,
for a second we lost the feed. Sorry about that.
I don't know. We're back. Asante Samuel,
yeah,
as advertised, threw his entire body out there and showed up on highlight reels because of it. What we're seeing, you heard Coach Staley talk about it today, Jake. What we're seeing from these rookies is not normal. You have Chris Rumph. You have Rashawn Slater. You've got Asante Samuel Jr., Larry Rountree. That's 4. Mark Webb. That's 5. And I've seen Trey McKitty in blocking.
Nick Neiman was even getting in some of the action as well.
When is the last time you saw, I mean, I'll just say 4. When's the last time we saw that much production from a rookie class that this Chargers coaching staff and general manager have brought on?
I can't remember that many showing out. No.
Nope.
And whether we're talking about this regime, the old regime, I can't remember that many actually showing out on the first game and looking impressive. And again, we're not talking about something that's, giant and consistent, but just, you have a play here, you have a play there. It's rare that you even get that from that many of your draft class. So it was impressive to see those guys show out like that.
Totally. A few comments here. Philip Casey A. Calloway. I love these 3 or 4 names. These are great. What's up, fellas? How about Slater laying the smack down that first drive?
He decided to take Brendan Hymas as his tag team partner and just put some dudes on the floor. That was beautiful.
Lit them up. Augustin G. I was there. Rams fans around me left early. Jake, I heard I think I saw 69,000 and change for a preseason game. And from what I heard, I want to say it was like 60-40 Rams Chargers fans-ish.
I don't know about that. I wasn't there, but
I wasn't there either. That's what I saw on Twitter. People were saying. Whether or not that's true, who knows? Also saw the stupidest fight at the stadium because some woman decided to throw a soda or beer. And honestly, that was
in the Palace rule.
The whole thing was almost over. Like, a guy was walking away, and then she went and had to just light a match and just watch it burn. So I don't know if clearly they should have left earlier than they did. Augustin also goes in and says defense was so exciting to watch. Special teams, not so much. So let's just get into this now. One of the lowlights, and it's not all of special teams.
No, the kicking field goals, that worked.
Yeah,
but man, your return game looked like it never left from last year. All of a sudden, so we expect the improvement to come in not just from difference in personnel, but of course from Darius Swinton coming on and bringing just this whole new outlook and attitude on special teams. And unfortunately, in the first preseason game, there's still a lot left to be desired, unfortunately. So hopefully we'll gradually see some improvement here over these next 2 weeks before they get geared up for week 1.
Yes, definitely. And again, like kicking field goals looked great. Kicking kickoffs looked great. And honestly, kick return coverage looked pretty darn good to me. Punt return was abysmal. Like, what the hell? Like, if it wasn't for a penalty, we would have given up like 2 50-yard returns. It was not good. Then we had like too many men on the field, and then someone, I want to say, I forget who it was, but somebody was racing back on the field. Like, I mean, I guess it's a good thing because, I don't know, 3/4 of our special teams got better. So I'll take that as a win, I guess. Jake, Blue Deftone asked, what do you guys think about Alex Kessman being released? Do you think it was the right move?
I mean, it made sense. Like I said earlier, the writing was on the wall when he went 2 for 6 at FanFest. I actually thought that the kid had a lot of potential given what he had done at Pitt. I thought he had a stronger leg than Michael Badgley. So at the time when it was early in camp, I thought he actually had a legit shot at giving, Michael Badgley a run, but wasn't meant to be. Vizcaino's definitely been more consistent. Again, we put the bar at someone who made 5 of 5 field goals in practice, and then thankfully for him goes out and kicks 2 for 2 in an actual preseason game. There is consistency, people, all of a sudden. But again, we're talking about practice and preseason games, and once week 1 hits, everything could possibly just go to shit again.
Yep. Jake, so I believe it was you this time that was frozen for a sec, and folks were loving the face that was made.
If there's one thing that I know is that I definitely, whenever it's confusion, surprise, anything like that, my face just, it'll go about a million different ways. So
I can't wait to watch the replay.
I'm a very expressive person. So be it. What about it?
It's fine. Blue Deftone. I didn't see this, Jake, but apparently that fight, that melee was on the Pat McAfee show. Did you see that?
Dude, Pat McAfee loves finding brawls that happen in sports stadium. Remember how much he loved the fight that took place with the Padres and the Rockies fan, where the Padres fan literally walked across the entire section and just decked that guy? I mean, he loves this type of stuff because the commentary that he'll put behind it is what makes it even better when you watch it on the show.
I love Pat McAfee. That guy is one of the best in the business right now. For him to be able to do what he does unfiltered and to be as successful as he is, that's like every sportscaster's dream, it feels like. Question came in from Jordan Cole. Thanks for chiming in, Jordan. Who is the most impressive rookie so far? And let's leave out Rashawn Slater. This is actually a tougher question than I was initially thinking.
I mean, to me, the obvious 2 choices you would have to pick between are Asante Samuel Jr. and Josh Palmer. I'll give the nod to Josh Palmer, just considering I felt that he had the better game in the preseason game. I mean, Dan, remember I told you I was at a wedding, and I looked at my phone and it was 7:08, and the first tweets that I had was first catch of the day goes to Josh Palmer. They go back to Palmer again. Palmer catches another one, and it was like, holy crap! It's like all of a sudden he's got 4 catches in this time frame, and then I see the stat that he's caught 6 for 6 for 36 yards before he temporarily went down on the field and then ended up coming back in. But to me, even in a small sample size, what he has done in training camp thus far, if you have not been paying attention and you're just getting wind of it now about how consistent and how good he looks, and if you don't believe either Dan or myself for it, go and watch the interview that we had with Tyron Johnson from last week about how much he has shown out thus far. It seems like he's obviously built up a lot of rapport with not just Justin Herbert, but with the backup quarterbacks as well. Makes sense. But I mean, he's looked good, and I have to give it just from a consistency basis. I think that Asante Samuel Jr. has definitely been making the more splash plays if you go back to practice. But to me, Josh Palmer, for what he's done, just looks like he's been in the game already for 2 or 3 years.
So this is an interesting question because I believe that this is harder than it sounds, because I want to think about this question in the terms of what you're getting versus what you expected. And so going down the list, you have Asante Samuel Jr., who everyone, for good reason, loves Asante Samuel Jr., and he is as advertised, should have been, and probably would have been a first-round pick, arguably the first corner, if he was like an inch or two taller. Grateful he's on our team, and he is looking very good, and all of that 47 overall, if not better. Then you go to the third-round pick. Josh Palmer, I think, is outperforming his third-round pick grade as of now. Like, how many third-round picks do you see looking this good in training camp or in preseason against other teams even? Then you go down the list. Like, Larry Rountree is looking pretty darn good. Like, I think he's outperforming his draft pick. Chris Rumph outperforming his draft pick very much so. Mark Webb, like, way outperforming a 7th-round pick. So in terms of, like, how much variance they have versus where they were picked, I would argue it's got to be Mark Webb. Like, Mark Webb is a 7th-round pick, a safety, and if he was not hurt, he was balling out all of the training camp. Like, there is no wrong answer, but it's just interesting to see and hear all of these all these rookies outperforming their draft grade. And you could argue even Rashawn Slater is outperforming overall 13. He's looking like the best offensive tackle in the draft.
Dan, I'll take the pessimist approach here because you know me. I always have this card up my sleeve for these type of occasions. And everybody likes to talk about it like, oh, overreaction Monday, or we were even seeing it on Twitter before the game started. Can't wait to see all these knee-jerk reactions when something bad goes wrong for a player for just a couple snaps in one preseason game. Is what we're talking about right now, is it an overreaction for some of these guys? Are we jumping the gun too early because of just one preseason game, or is this... do we have to take this, first look and and be really encouraged by it?
So it's a fair question. And I'll ask the question back to you in another way. When is the last time you saw this many rookies performing this early on this Chargers team? Like, sure, it could be knee-jerk. Sure, it could only be preseason and training camp. But it hasn't happened before.
No, I agree with you. It hasn't happened before. So I'm just, again, trying to still,
temper expectations.
Temper expectations a little bit, because next week against the 49ers, I mean, this upcoming week, it could be a completely different story for who he shows out. I mean, this is a great show out for a majority of these guys in one preseason game thus far. So I understand why it's a reason to be optimistic and everything like that. But yeah, I'm just saying, should we temper the expectations for just a little bit longer?
Yes. I will say, Jake, we welcome all fans to the show, whether they are supporters of the Chargers or not. Raider Carlos, what's up, Raider Carlos? I love the clever profile picture you got. Raider Oh, I see what he did there with 2 R's. Chargers suck. I think he misspelled Chargers with Raiders, but who knows? I'm glad that he's chiming into a Chargers podcast. This is fun. Do you think his name is actually Carlos with 2 R's?
I don't know, but what I do know is it's a very interesting way to spend your Monday night. So, I mean, hey, again, I appreciate it. Thanks for joining.
Yes, apparently we are the only 2 Chargers fans.
That's not true, but that's not true. But
and it gives us
whatever you want to think.
It gives us a third comment, having fun competing with the 4th position with the Broncos, coming to us as if the Raiders have done literally anything in the last 20 years.
Enjoy
so
that 10-year, $100 million contract that you gave to your coach with mediocre results. Congratulations.
Have fun with Gus Bradley, Raider Carlos. Thanks for chiming in, though. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe.
We do appreciate it.
Shout out. Love having it. And Blue Deftone wants to make sure that folks understand they are the Trader Faders. I'll leave it there. Look, Chargers fans, what do you call it? The yacht rock folks? We're not here to fight. We're here to have fun.
Hang on a second. Pull up his one about the defense. I have to go to this. Let me just say this to you right now.
Oh, we should not have said that.
If you want to go back to last year and talk about the defense and it being non-existent or that we don't have one,
oh no,
I can't wait for you to understand who your defensive coordinator is. Enjoy it. Enjoy 17 weeks of it, my friend. And then you will know exactly how we felt. So
Hold on.
enjoy it.
It gets better.
I mean, there's a difference between, insanity and man.
Oh, okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, Carlos Ramirez just wants to say not all Carloses are associated with him. Oh man. That was fun. This is why I can't stand Raiders, 49ers, and Cowboys fans, because that Carlos guy comments right there.
Yeah. And just so you know, saying the exact same thing twice, but this time with a bunch of crying emojis, it isn't really that much more creative.
He asks us to get a Super Bowl. I would like you guys to get a Super Bowl since you've been born, but I digress. Thank you for coming in, Raider Carlos. Love what you guys are doing there with that Gus Bradley defense. Keep shining. Praying for you in peace. Have fun out in Vegas. All right, so Jake, this defense, not under Gus Bradley, and I hope this Raider Carlos just keeps listening because he'll hear trends about how grateful.
Hey, however you want to spend your Monday night, dude. It's whatever.
About how grateful we are to have a new head coach, Brandon Staley, and not the last one. This defense looks different, and this team looks different, and it's not just because of Brandon Staley. Like, it's not just because of Ronaldo Hill. Collectively, this group is having fun, is energized, and it is focused, and you see it in training camp. You and I have been to so many of these training camps, and we've seen this team laser focused. We've seen this team only doing like hour and 15 minutes. You see all of like the activation that they do in the first 15 minutes of every training camp. Like it's pretty remarkable to see how different this is. So being able to kind of watch the difference year to year with this coaching staff. And for folks who don't know, Jake and I both were very high on Brandon Staley and getting him on this team. And we said it from the very beginning. I should say very beginning. We said it probably a week or two prior to him being hired. He was the most innovative head coach out there, and we got him. And you're seeing it paying dividends. You're seeing all of his kind of Brandon Staleyisms out there everywhere. Like you hear him talk about like 1% better every day, and hear him talking about winning as a team. It's so refreshing to have a coach who's accountable, and it's just refreshing. Like, honestly, I have a feeling that this is a good thing starting, and we have a lot more to come. Jake, what do you think about just the difference between how this coaching staff feels versus the last one?
I mean, it really feels night and day. And we've been saying this since February. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot when we're talking about Brandon Staley, but hearing him in the post-game press conference in the locker room and talking to the guys, again, it's a small sample size, but if you what really kind of caught my eye was if you read the article from Peter King in his comments with Brandon Staley, talked about them, doing yoga on the field, and something that he had not really been used to as far as just like the pre-practice warm-up, and then his whole point behind that and his whole philosophy behind that. So, and apparently he's taken this all the way from when he was doing college or coming from his college. So there are just different aspects in how he looks at the game and how he approaches the game. Whether it's offense, defense, or special teams, he wants it all, the energy centralized from one place. And it's a different thing that I've ever heard any coaches before, especially if you go back through our coaches in Anthony Lynn and Mike McCoy, and before that in Norv Turner. It's nice to just see something that's different, that's innovative, that really sounds forward thinking. But I mean, yeah, it's crazy and refreshing at the same time, but in the best possible way.
Yep. It's a question that folks have been asking a long time. especially since training camp started. Honestly, since we drafted Asante Samuel Jr. I feel like this timetable is just getting rushed up earlier and earlier and faster and faster. But Jake, how long before Asante Samuel Jr. is CB2? And I know it's a hard question to answer when you are looking at a Brandon Staley defense. But
Is it though?
I mean, because they're interchangeable. It depends on where you're putting them and what kind of package you're in. But let's just, for this argument, for this conversation, let's say it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. If I gave you the over-under week 4 for him being CB2 before training camp started, would you have gone over-under?
I would have gone under. Easy. 100% easy.
Now,
and I well, you're going to ask that how I base that off of is because, yes, to your point, how do you label it between Mike Davis, Chris Harris, and Asante Samuel Jr. as far as who is labeled CB2? To me, when I heard Brandon Staley talk about how he was going to be putting guys in position to succeed, and because of his familiarity with Chris Harris in Denver, where he has won the best in his career has been as a slot cornerback. He's still one of the best when he's at that position and when he's healthy. So to me, that sealed it up right there, that there's no way that you're going to tell me with Casey Hayward now gone that, by the way, at the Raiders, there's nobody behind these three that's going to possibly overtake Asante Samuel Jr. for that CB2 job, especially when you're talking about the outside. Chris Harris can hold his own in the slot, but on the outside, he has been burned a number of times throughout his career if you put him there. So Asante Samuel Jr. thankfully has that flexibility to where he can play inside, outside. But I think that they're going to love putting him on the outside and locking up some of these wide receivers early. So yeah, I don't think they're going to waste any time with Asante Samuel Jr.
I don't either. Would you say let's say week 1. Is he CB2?
Yeah. Yes, he is. Yes.
Okay.
I really don't understand why that's like, it seems like it's a hot take because it's not. It shouldn't be. Again, however you want to label it, Dan, but if it's me, I'm not believing that the first defensive play that is going to be out on week 1 is going to be Mike Davis and Chris Harris on the outside and Asante Samuel Jr. in the slot. No, I think it'll be what it should be. And that's Asante Samuel Jr., Mike Davis on the outside, and Chris Harris in the slot.
When is the last time a second-round Chargers draft pick started in the secondary? I mean,
is this a trivia question, or are you just asking in generality? Technically, it should have been Nasir Adderley way back when, but we know the hurdles that we've gone through with that, unfortunately. But I mean, hey, who cares?
Yes.
Who cares? To be honest, it's 2021.
Labor of love. Labor of LV. What's up, fellas? Happy Monday. Happy Monday to you, sir. Loving the Derwin James jersey you're sporting. Thanks for listening, for watching. Michael Daly. Asante has some serious game. Yep, that dude came to play. He does not care. He is all about football. And it's kind of wild to hear and to see folks this energized about a coach. And just taking a step back for a second. There's a bunch of coaches that were hired this past year. One went to the Jets. One went to the Giants. They're talking about biting ankles and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Again, I don't know. We cover the Chargers, but I don't think there is this much excitement for a new coach anywhere else in the NFL. Not just from us, not just from the Chargers internally, but externally. You hear stuff from I don't know, Mike Silver. You hear folks talk about it from Peter King. You hear folks talk about it on Good Morning Football. You hear folks talk about it on First Take. Brandon Staley is getting headlines. And that's so weird for a Chargers team to see a coach getting headlines for good reasons, I should say.
That's for sure. No, but I think that there's a lot of intrigue for it, considering the fact that, you look at Staley's career before this, and how quickly he moved up the ranks from going from, back in Denver to Chicago to what he did last year with the Rams. And now all of a sudden getting the head coaching gig, it's something to take notice of. And, you're coming from a guy who technically came from the Sean McVay tree, which, is extremely innovative since he's come in there and, given new life to the Rams over the last several years. But there's a lot of intrigue before it. If you want to talk about, some people are saying, I've never been this excited for a head coach before. In the past when it was like, not to talk bad about the guy, but when Norv Turner was finally let go of the team, I think at that point, a lot of Chargers fans, I don't care who it is at the head coaching spot. I'm just excited that he's gone. So take that with a grain of salt. It's always nice to see it at this point and then, to hopefully see it on the translate on the field. But Mike McCoy didn't do that. Norv Turner didn't do that. Anthony Lynn didn't do that. And they didn't sound like this. And that, I think, is the biggest differential here, is that when you see him and you hear him talk in press conferences and how he's built this coaching staff out, which is a nice mixture of veteran guys and some guys from the college ranks and guys that, that he's had a history with going back to his college. It's crazy. So, but it's just new, it's innovative, and it seems to be that type of forward thinking type of coaching mentality that it looks like the NFL could gear towards when you're looking for coaching candidates. It's nuts, but it's nice that we have him on this team. It definitely feels good.
Yep. Okay, Jake, quick 5 seconds of silence.
We good?
Yep, we're good.
Had enough of that? Cool.
Yep. Yeah. Joe Lombardi also getting a shout out. I really like what this coaching staff is doing. Blue Deftone, actually, before we go to Blue Deftone, Jed Jacobson. I think this is a new friend of the show. Competitive stamina is my new life motto. Jake, I'm thinking about getting that tattooed on my forearm.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. It's just the concept of thinking with a tattoo is slightly hilarious. But
if you were to give me a tattoo, which tattoo do you think I should have?
I don't think you want me to answer that really on the
broadcast
right now.
Thank you.
I'll be kind to you. No, but if you were really going to trick that out as your motto and put it on your forearm, you'd have to come up with a really, really nice font for that. And
that's true.
And make it a good, decent size. Don't make it some weak ass small text tattoo. You put it here on your wrist. That you could just put competitive stamina right here, or you could do it on both. And make it look really weird.
Yes.
Make it look really weird.
Before we go any further, Jake, did you notice the shirt I'm wearing today?
I did. Obviously, I can't see it, but I know what you're wearing.
There it is. This episode is brought to you. Let's pay some bills for a sec. This episode is brought to you folks by UFC Fit in the Inland Empire, specifically in Temecula. They are brand new, opened up a month or two ago. They've got all kinds of incredible stuff. They got a recovery center. They have cryotherapy. They got hydro massages. They got pressure massages. They got all kinds of boxing lessons. UFC Fit is blowing up. Awesome race. If you haven't checked it out, I believe you can get a free pass for 10 days, I think, if you go and check them out. Tell them Chargers Unleashed sent you. We're actually going to be doing a giveaway here shortly for one free premium subscription for a year for UFC Fit to coincide with the Chargers' first game of the season, but more on that to come soon. Let's see. How do I want to go over this next one? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Dan, and we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but I don't think that we've really gone in depth to it, was Larry Rountree's game.
Yes. Real quick, shout out. Thank you. We love you guys too.
Inland Empire is nice. Represent. Love it.
Yes. Yeah, I saw a ton of them at FanFest, by the way. Like they were representing. I was loving it. Die Hard Bro Club. Y'all are great. We love you guys. Okay, sorry, Jake, I interrupted you. You may proceed.
Sorry. Larry Rountree's game. I've been saying this since we did our breakdown that I seriously felt that Larry Rountree had a legitimate shot to unseat Joshua Kelly for the RB3 spot. Now, to me, is this decision final yet? Is one game going to close that deal? No. I felt that over the last couple weeks of practice that Joshua Kelly started to separate himself a little bit, which is why he was in there on the depth chart behind Justin Jackson for this first game. But man, when you look at the difference, I mean, these guys had the same amount of carries. And even in Kelly's defense, he was running behind the better offensive line that was out there on the field. And when we look at the stats for that, didn't really look that impressive when mustering together, only 19 yards on 8 carries. You give the same 8 carries to Larry Rountree, and he goes off for 63 yards and just does a guy dirty with a nasty cutback in the other direction. I mean, if Larry Rountree was just basically taking all of these practices for the last 2 weeks and just waiting for his opportunity to get up to real game speed and go against someone else to show out, I am so happy that he did that. Because I got to tell you, this running back competition is still going to continue to be fluid. I don't think that Larry Rountree locked up something. You may agree or disagree, but I think that he's definitely obviously now taken the lead in that circumstance. But I'd be interested to see how Joshua Kelly responds, if so at all. And I would love to now see them rotate the snaps, which if Justin Jackson is not going to be able to play, which I don't believe that he's going to this week with his groin injury, I doubt that that's going to heal enough for him to get some contact in the way that Staley likes to err more on the side of caution. I doubt he's going to play. So there's going to be a huge bulk of carries this week against San Francisco. And I assume that Larry Rountree is going to lead the way on that. Then you'll have Kelly behind him, and then Darius Bradwell will make up the difference towards the end of the game. But was thoroughly impressed by Rountree. Gotta love what he's bringing to this run game. And, if they keep four, I'd be a little bit surprised if they kept 4. Not entirely shocked, but Larry Rountree right now has that legitimate chance to unseat Joshua Kelly from that RB3 spot.
Yeah, and speaking of running backs, I feel bad for Justin Jackson. He was looking good first drive, and I believe he went out with a groin injury. And, it just feels like a broken record. And I love what this kid brings when he's on the field. But he cannot stay on the field, Jake. And, you got to feel for him, too. It's not like he's wanting to get injured. It's not like he's wanting to just, be having to be stuck on the side, just kind of watching everyone get better reps and get more experience than him. It's got to be, heartbreaking for him. But as an organization, as a team who you need to count on players to be, active and to be available, I don't know what the right thing to do for the team is with Justin Jackson. How would you handle that?
It's difficult, man. It is, because it's not like this is a new issue. Preseason is not Justin Jackson's best friend over the last couple of years. We thought it was going to be a slow start to him coming back from what we thought was the COVID list, and he was back the very next day. So, we were a little bit relieved that he wasn't going to be losing that many reps. And given that, we felt that he was not going to lose the RB2 spot. But yeah, it's a little bit difficult for this. Do I still think that Justin Jackson is the RB2 of this team? Health considering? Yeah, I do. I'm not going to go as far as to say that he's unseated from the RB2 spot when he's not healthy. But yeah, it's a difficult situation. And for him, this is a big year for him to show out. Because he's got 2 guys that are jonesing for a roster spot right now, and one particular that's getting close on his heels.
Would you, honestly, would you keep him? As of right now?
Yeah, I'd still have to give him the benefit of the doubt, because if you're saying that you're going to go with Austin Eckler, obviously, as your starter, and then you're going to give the RB2 to a rookie that's only had 1 preseason game thus far, and a 4th-round rookie from 2020 that we felt early was looking good, but then just had a dramatic drop-off, lost his confidence as a runner. I'm sure that this whole situation isn't doing anything for his confidence to help that out. So, yeah, it's a tough situation. Given that, and given the veteran status of Justin Jackson, I think that's what gives him the most weight to hold on to this as far as being the RB2 for this team. And probably the only thing right now that I could say, unless he gets back into these games, that's keeping him for the roster spot. But no, I think that this team will proceed more with a veteran presence than it will from, everything beyond Austin Eckler just being nothing but a rookie and a second-year player.
Yeah, and we have a ton of questions coming in about kind of the latest in roster predictions and latest in depth chart. So let's kind of go through some of the top roster competition battles, if you will.
Real quick before we do, because I want to make sure that that I acknowledge him. Jed Jacobson, I see you, sir. I will have that tri-tip recipe out to you before the end of the show. So continue.
Ooh, wait, did I miss this? Where's this pineapple tri-tip marinade?
We were talking about this last week, and I didn't divulge the entire recipe, but Jed actually reached out to me on Twitter and said, I would love to get this. And no, I responded to him. I said that I would give it to him on the next podcast. So I just wanted to make sure I acknowledged him. So let's continue with the show.
Okay. So I think the biggest kind of position battles, kicker, we talked about that already, is down to 2. I think Vizcaíno's going to get it, but there's still time.
How about that punter battle? If anybody was worried about that, whoo,
that was gone.
After if anybody had any worries about that one, yeah, Ty Long is your punter again for your Chargers in 2021.
All I need to do is hit a couple 60-yard bombs, and you're good to go. Wide receiver is another one. So we know the guys we know are going to be on this team: Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Josh Palmer, Billy, Jalen Guyton. That's 5. Mm-hmm. I believe. Would you put Guyton on that?
Yeah, I think as of right now, yeah. Again, that battle for the last spot between, however you want to look at it, with Hill, Reed, Prohl, Moore, Guyton. I still think Guyton has to have that spot, have one of these last spots because of his longevity that he's had with the team. Jason Moore is another one. Jason Moore made the 53 last year, so he's got some history with this team already. So and more veteran presence than the rest of these guys. But it's going to be close. It's going to be close. They're not making it any easier. And like I feel like I'm saying on repeat, it's a great problem to have.
I mean, so in theory, like I doubt we're going to keep 7. So let's say 6.
Yep.
So we have 1 slot left. And that slot is up for grabs between KJ Hill, Joe Reed, Austin Prohl, Jason Moore. Now, am I missing one? I think those are the 4. One of those guys has a chance to make this roster. And the fact that one of those guys might still not even make the roster is crazy. So you got Jason Moore, Prohl, Hill, Reed. Real quick. Unfortunately, you and I talked about this, I believe, offline. Josh Palmer getting picked up was bad news for Jason Moore because they have very similar archetypes, if you will. So, unfortunately, I don't know if Jason Moore is going to be there. Joe Reed still has a unique skill set, but it doesn't seem like this team cares or wants or needs it as much as they have other spots. Like, he isn't getting much action, like, at all, whether it's in snaps, whether it's in preseason, special teams, like, you name it. Not out there. KJ Hill and Austin Prohl, I think, are the 2 that are battling, in my opinion, for the last spot. Both of them provide on special teams. Both of them slot work. But I think you're seeing more Austin Prohl on the offense than you are KJ Hill. So if I had to make my stance right now, I think it's Austin Prohl. Would you, maybe you don't get there from the same directions, but would you agree?
I would, and it's more so for what he's bringing in the special teams department. So I think that's that's one of your reasons. And for the fact that they're already putting him on the depth chart for return purposes should tell you everything you need to know. And with the emphasis that's needed for this special teams to improve, whether we're talking about coverage or returns, yeah, that's how you make this team when it's situations like this, especially when it's deep position battles. And there's none deeper right now, honestly, than wide receivers. So you have to make a name for yourself. I still can't believe that they are not using Joe Reed on any of this when this is what he made a lot of his career highlights in college. I mean, I was still surprised when I did not see him at all on the first depth chart, but this is what Austin Proehl has basically come in and done. Essentially has just ripped that chance away on special teams as a returner away from Joe Reed.
Why do you think that is? Like,
I mean,
we haven't talked about that before. Like, but why are they not? There has to be a reason. Why are they not utilizing Joe Reed for what Joe Reed can do? It's either, like, realistically, it's either because he's not as good as we all thought, or they don't care about that archetype in this offense. Like, it has to be one of those two, right?
You'd have to think so. I mean, I don't see any other conceivable reason why they wouldn't. But I mean, again, from day one, it seems like this hasn't happened. I haven't heard or seen anything that had Joe Reed out there doing returns. You had Tyron Johnson, you had KJ Hill, you had Nasir Adderley, you had Austin Proehl. They were trying a bunch of different guys, I remember, in week one for the returns, and Joe Reed was nowhere to be found. So it's not like he's been losing a battle. He just hasn't been in the battle from the get-go. So I have to think that this is just some preconceived notion, but it's unfortunate because I was really excited to see how they were going to use Joe Reed. And back when we were talking about this early, Dan, I mean, I thought that they were going to implement more of Joe Reed as that gadget player, again, as a returner. And I was thinking for the longest time that, hey, KJ Hill was going to be the odd man out, and it does not look like it's going to be that way now. It looks like something completely different. So, I mean, again, these next 2 weeks are going to be crucial for some of these guys, and I feel bad for anybody that is wearing a wide receiver jersey number that is beyond the 4 locks for sure that it's going to make this roster, because it's going to be tough, and it's going to be an unfortunate outcome for some of these guys.
Yep. The Gaming Society comes out. Proehl got a lot of return work on Saturday. Yes, he did. But so did KJ Hill. Like, they were pretty close in terms of that. Jake, momentous occasion happening tomorrow. Friend of the show, Michael Daly, is celebrating his wife and his 30-year wedding anniversary. 30 is just a number. So you're probably what? I'm going to guess. You know what? We're all 26. It's cool. We're all 26 for 26 years. I don't care. Jake, any ideas for Michael and folks out there, if you have ideas for him to celebrate 30-year wedding anniversary? I'm going to say, write down 30 reasons why you've stayed husband and wife for 30 years. Number 1 to 30, not in any particular order.
Dan Wolkenstein with the sentimental approach. Love it.
It could be sentimental. It could be funny. There could be other ways you go about it. But that would be my first try. What would you do?
You kind of have to, I mean, especially now. I mean, obviously you would think like, hey, let's go somewhere for a big anniversary like this. Again, congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yes, congratulations, by the way.
But now, I mean, as of now, unfortunately, certain things you're kind of limited by. So, yeah, you kind of have to get creative with it. Man, I know concerts are starting to come back a little bit. Obviously, the game aspect is coming back. But God, for 30 years, I mean, that's pinnacle. So
Yeah.
you got to show out good for that. Actually, I love that.
Don't
idea.
say it. He told us what his plan is. I don't want to say it because what if she is listening as an avid Chargers fan and now would be able to see where they could go. So I'm not going to say what his plan is, although he did tell us. It's a great idea, by the way, Michael. I love your idea. And where you're thinking, love that place. They have a great boba tea place there, by the way. That's awesome. Honestly, I think you're good to go. I think you got it down. Michael, go with your gut.
I think that works.
Jorge Rodriguez says, take him to WWE and become husband of the year. Do you think that would work? Hey,
man.
Maybe it will. Maybe it will. Michael Daly confirms.
Certain people.
Michael Daly confirms tickets to WWE. That might be what they do. Hey, tomorrow, congratulations, Michael, to you and your wife. 30 years is impressive. That's a long time. Praying for you and many more years to come. Congratulations. So, Jake, switching gears for a second. Chargers had to make roster cuts. They had to make roster cuts by, I believe, I want to say like 1 o'clock Pacific tomorrow.
Yeah, they already got that out of the way.
Chargers got that out of the way. They cut wide receiver Michael Bandy. They cut punter Lachlan Edwards and kicker Alex Kessman. Any surprises?
Is there any better name for a punter than you've heard of than Lachlan? I mean, that's pretty damn good.
I dig it.
I like it.
Any surprises?
No.
Same.
Next week it'll start getting interesting.
Yes, because how many more do they have to go down next week? 5 more?
I think you shave it down to 75, and then of course the big cut day will be after the 3rd preseason game.
Okay.
But that might actually change because there's only 3 preseason games now. So it might actually end up being more than 5. Check me on that, but that's what it's traditionally been to trim the roster down to 75, but I could be wrong.
Yep. And Carlos actually gave us a good reminder. We did just sign a long snapper. Cole Mazza got hurt.
Yeah, he's in a sling.
Yep. And do we know anything in terms of the specifics of how long? Or how serious?
Nope.
Okay. So today they signed Matt Overton as a long snapper to take his place. Yes, Jed Jacobson. Kessman was Jake's pick.
Yes, it was.
Jake has already accepted.
I've already accepted. I've already atoned it, and I say right now that I apologize to whoever may have took my betting advice if you did happen to lay a wager on it. So again, I apologize for it. I just thought coming in that he had the stronger leg than Badgley, and what he did at Pitt was good. And I felt like he could give him a run for his money, no pun intended. But the 2 for 6 at FanFest,
not good.
Not good.
Not good. Do you see how could Michael Badgley stay the kicker come week 1?
How about
like honestly
make a 50+ yard field goal?
But even if he does that,
maybe go 5 for 5 in a practice. Maybe show some consistency. That'd be nice.
Do you think I'm really wondering what could he do that could be you know what, we're gonna stick with him? Because the thing is, even if he makes his kicks, and this is the part that I think is hard. Even if he makes his kicks, let's say he goes 15 for 15 the next 3 weeks. I guarantee you, week 1, end of the game, Chargers are down to 51-yard field goal. What are you going to think?
Yeah, I know exactly what, and that's what I was saying earlier when we were talking about Vizcaino having the lead for the kicking spot right now. It's like, hey man, it's nice to see a kicker go 5 for 5 in practice, come out and make 2 field goals in a game that don't count. But when it does count, what's going to happen? And if it's Badgley, dude, the tension's already so high right now for him. Again, he missed 12 kicks in 2020. He knows the pressure's on for himself, which isn't going to help his mental status anymore. So, yeah, you should be on a very short leash. If he's not on the shortest leash already with Chargers fans, you have to think if they end up going with him and these missed kicks continue, it's going to be rough sledding because we saw Anthony Lynn tolerate it last year. I don't believe from what I've heard from Darius Swinton that he would allow that to last.
I don't think so either. I honestly, just thinking out loud here, I don't foresee a way for Michael Badgley to stay the kicker because that every time he goes, week one, everyone is going to be like, crap. Like, what? There's no way you can be confident. There's no way.
But at the same time, you're going to feel that way no matter who the kicker is. So even if it is Vizcaino that ends up getting the job,
you'll be nervous. But if Michael Badgley is going out there for a 52-yard field goal, what percentage chance are you giving him that he makes that?
Well, it's very low because of history. I get it. But at the same time, Chargers fan base is completely fed up with the kicking situation. Remember just a couple of years ago before we had Badgley as our kicker when we did a quick transition from Josh Lambo to Young Ho Koo, and Young Ho Koo before Young Ho Koo was Young Ho Koo. He was inconsistent on field goals. And then we had to go through the whole Caleb Sturgis project, and that didn't end up going well. We're jawing for a kicker who can actually make consistent kicks. Remember Badgley's first couple of field goals and everybody went berserk because nothing was in his head at that point in time and he was out there making it, and you're saying this is the guy, we found him. And then unfortunately, yes. So really, to me, I don't care what the name is on the back of the jersey, whoever the kicker is. If they end up starting to miss field goals, doesn't matter if it's Badgley or Vizcaino, this fan base is not having it anymore. They're not having it anymore.
Nope. Man, it's a roller coaster watching these kickers going. James Wagner, we're rounding up our episode here. For folks who have not already and you're watching, please give us a quick like, give us a subscribe, hit those bell notifications so you can get reminded of upcoming episodes and special guests that are going to be joining us as soon as this week. Wink, wink. So stay tuned. So yeah, please give us a like, subscribe to us on both YouTube as well as wherever you get your podcast. Question came in. This is a fun and interesting question. James Wagner asks, your view on the swing tackle battle.
So we're now talking about the likes of
There's your answer.
Trey Pipkins, Tyree St. Louis, Storm Norton. Short answer, I've seen enough of Trey Pipkins.
I saw your eye twitch a bit when you said Trey Pipkins.
I personally saw enough of him last year. The experiment's over with. This isn't going to get any better. And I'll take my chances with Storm Norton or Tyree Lewis at this point, because Trey Pipkins, to me, it doesn't matter whether you put him at a left tackle or a right tackle position. He hasn't shown any signs of improvement. And the part that really hurts is that, you look back at it and you look back at when the Chargers took him. And it was just that same old third-round pick thing that kept just rolling for Telesco at that time. And it's just unfortunate. But the experiment just hasn't fizzled out the way that the Chargers would have wanted him to develop. And like I said, I've seen enough. So now, to me, this is a battle between Tyree St. Louis and Storm Norton. Who's going to win?
Yep. The good news that we have is the starting five. I guess the only one that might be a concern is Boucher, but I'm not concerned, but he's just the most concerning of the five. If we do lose one offensive lineman for a bit, and there's one that needs to get replaced, or two things, we still have a pretty good offensive line. It's not as thin as it's been in years past. Now, do I want to get to that point? Hell no. No. Yeah. No. No thanks.
Pull the reins back there a little bit, Dan.
Yeah. Brandon Hymas is looking good. In short, I'm not excited to see who they go with regardless. Who would you pick? Would you say it's St. Louis? Would you say I don't think it's Pipkins.
There's no way it can be Pipkins. If somehow it's Pipkins, I don't know. I've lost all confidence in this universe. I don't know what to say. I really don't.
Yeah.
And how it makes any sense. So I mean, I don't know. Storm Norton, Tyree St. Louis. Who do you really give an age to? I have no idea. It's going to be interesting as it comes down to the camp battle.
I mean, Filer could be the guy, but then again, then there's a guard position that you're having to move. So then, Filer would be if it was me, and one of your tackles went down. Filer would be the next one. But then again, who you're putting at guard? And so
Hymas, you could either plug Hymas or Questenberry because both of them obviously have had experience at the guard spot. So to me, it would be Hymas because you're not going to risk your depth at center, as Questenberry is your number 2 behind Corey Lindsley. But yeah, Dan, why are we talking about this, man? We don't talk about these type of conceptualized rotations of different offensive linemen because we've had way too many combinations over the last 2 years.
These hypotheticals are painful.
Jorge Rodriguez's question about Rashawn Slater, by the way, they say he has I believe it was Staley reported it as a pull in his back, but thankfully Staley already said that he's going to be out there for joint practices against the 49ers. So instead of the traditional, he's out, but we're not concerned about it, at least we actually have a general timeline for when he's back. And it doesn't sound like it's anything that major, and this is Staley being precautionary, and he'll be back for joint practices this Thursday. So that's good news.
Yeah, and speaking of health, quick updates. Kenneth Murray had his helmet, so I think he's close to being good to go. Mark Webb is now out of practice, so he is now good to go, which that's a big addition back to this secondary. Mike Williams, I think he's in street clothes today.
No, he still wasn't. And Staley even said that he doesn't expect him to play this week against the Niners.
Honestly, I'd shut him down too. I wouldn't play him until the regular season. We know what Mike Williams can do. There's no point. Just let him heal. It's fine. Any other health? I know Brandon Faison, I believe, is back now. Hopefully he can get as many reps as possible.
He came back from his personal issue. Who else was not practicing today? Cortez Broughton was not practicing today. I didn't hear specifically why he wasn't practicing. I can't remember, but I think there was about 6 or 7 guys that were not practicing today.
I will say, even just speaking of health for a sec, it's so nice to hear Coach leave a lot of the stars out of preseason. It was nice to see Derwin James just chilling, saying hi to Jalen Ramsey and saying hi to Asante, just doing their thing. It's just cool to see our best players healthy and not risking. No. Hold on. They are not getting hurt in the preseason game. They did not get hurt because they didn't play. That's okay. You can't knock on wood because they're not even going to play next game either. Or the game after that.
You need to go to the bathroom window right now and do 6 Holy Marys and, throw some salt over your left shoulder or something. Look, or you even bringing that subject matter up.
No, but here's the thing. But again, okay, hold on. Everyone's blowing me up about this whole jinx thing. Okay. First off, I'm knocking on wood. I'm knocking on wood. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. But again, because Derwin James and Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert are not playing in preseason, they are not going to get hurt in preseason games. I'm not jinxing anything because they literally can't get hurt in preseason games.
You didn't say it like that, man. You didn't say it like that.
How did I say it?
You just said it's nice that we don't have our big stars getting injured. Beyond those guys you just said, there are other starters on this team.
If I said that, I apologize. That is not what I meant to say. And I will.
God. Leave it to Fernando to bring things back into reality. corn dogs, Jackie. Corn dogs for all of these people.
Jake, corn
Love
dog.
it when Fernando joins the show.
Shout out, friend of the show, friend of LAFB Network, Fernando Ramirez. Jake, what do you put on your corn dogs? What condiments are you using?
Dude, it's mustard. It's mustard.
Just
man.
mustard.
It's just mustard. Yes, I know that may sound weird, and
It's not weird.
to the ketchup enthusiasts, especially like Patrick Mahomes, they probably would look at that as like blasphemy. But no, I'm very particular about like my hot dogs are the same way. Personally, I actually add a little bit of cheese on my hot dogs as well. So I do mustard and then I do like shredded cheese on top of it. It's really, really good.
So if somebody put ketchup on your hot dog or your corn dog, would you burn their house down?
No, I would still eat it if it was the only thing that was there, obviously. But you're asking me my preference? Yes, I particularly like it with mustard.
Okay, fine. I would honestly, I'm good with either. I can do ketchup and mustard or just mustard.
Okay, just real quick tangent. This is going to make you laugh. Okay, I'm very particular about certain foods in mine. Okay, so like
what's
I get
fancy sauce?
I don't know, what is that, Chipotle sauce? I have no idea, but it sounds good, whatever it is. But so like tacos, if you take a difference between tacos and hamburgers, I like lettuce on my tacos. Don't really enjoy it much on my hamburgers. The whole thing with the hot dogs and the corn dogs. Yes, I like mustard on it, and yes, I like mustard on my burgers, but I'm not particularly getting ketchup on either one of them. I'm very weird and particular with certain foods on mine. Again, I know it just sounds like it's complete blasphemy for anybody who are like the hardcore ketchup enthusiasts. I love dipping my fries in ketchup, so I don't eliminate ketchup completely. But look, mustard and ranch, those are my two jams. That's what I go after.
Together?
No, not together,
Oh.
you moron.
Whoa, okay.
Come on.
Like, what are you doing?
If I'm putting them together, then someone come and strangle me, because that flavor is not going to taste good.
Have you done the mixture of ranch and buffalo sauce?
That I have done. That actually has taste continuity to it, so it works.
Continuity.
Yes.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Pinky
So
up.
like you have to go with the buffalo wings. You have to dip that in the ranch sauce. How are you not doing that?
Okay, but this is weird. Okay, a weird thing that I have, Jake. If I ever order a club sandwich, anytime I order a club sandwich, I ask for a side of buffalo sauce with a side of ranch dressing, and I mix the two together. And it's the only meal that I do that for. I don't know.
Great.
Why.
And apparently we've been doing this so long that people think that we're watching the Food Network now. So let's
Yes.
transition. back to
Yes,
football.
we're watching the Food Network. You are chopped. You do not win the $10,000. And Yeet Skeet, by the way, love the name. Not mixed together. Fine. Well, everybody can have their own sauce ways about them. Jake, so we talked about all kinds of things today. And for folks who are still tuning in, thank you guys so much for joining us. I know we covered a ton here. We went through all of the position battles. We went through the latest roster cuts. We went through all of the recap news from preseason game number 1. So looking forward a bit before we head out of here, Jake, preseason game number 2. What are you looking for from this team that you haven't seen already to make a decision?
What am I looking for this team that I have not seen yet in order to make a decision for what?
Any of it, whether it's kickers, whether it's interior defensive line, whether it's going to be who's going to be starting corner, whether it's going to be who's going to be wide receiver 6, who's going to be running back 2. Like, what do you need to see?
All right, I'll go down the list because you brought up a lot there. I just wanted you to be specific, Dan. That's all I was asking for.
Smart.
How about this for a situation for the kickers? Think about how this would play out. Because Vizcaino was doing the kicks. Imagine if Michael Badgley is the only one doing the kicks in this game. And let's just, for the sake of argument, let's throw some optimism his way. Let's just say he goes 2 for 2, same as Tristan Vizcaino. And it comes down to the last preseason game for both of these guys to win the kicking battle. That just seems so Chargers to me that
Poetic.
there would still not be any definitive who's got the lead, even though right now we can all agree that Tristan Vizcaino has the lead on Michael Badgley, it seems like. But if they allow Badgley to kick in this game, which I believe that they should, that if he went 2 for 2 and we come down to the final preseason game, that would be just great. The running back. If Justin Jackson does not play this week, again, I don't think he will with his groin injury. How are you going to divvy the workload between Rountree, Kelly, and Bradwell? I still think now, after what Rountree did this past week, that he's got a firm grip on that. I think he should get a bulk of the carries, if not at least a quarter and a half, to see what he could do. You put him behind a better offensive line than what he was running with on Saturday. I would love to see what he can do with it. And then let's see if Kelly can rebound from his lackluster performance that he had on Saturday. Let's see if he can rebound. Wide receiver 6. I would love to be saying that we should be mentioning Joe Reed's name in here, but we're not. And there's no two ways to understand it. So you can't talk about him. I can't even say that there's any expectations that they're going to involve him in the game plan. I still don't understand why. You bring that down now to Jason Moore, KJ Hill, Austin Prohl. Who's going to take the lead? Because special teams wise, Prohl and KJ Hill to me right now are neck and neck as far as who can make it between them. Is Jason Moore going to be able to separate himself? I would like to see another nice performance from Josh Palmer. Can he build on 6 catches for 36 yards in the first 10 minutes of a game? I would love to see it. Who knows? I would like to see a bigger performance. But
Jason Moore, I think Jason Moore, for him to make the team, is going to have to beat out Jalen Guyton, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I get why you're pinpointing that, because as far as their similarities, as far as what they can do for a receiver, yes, and that's similar to why I say that KJ Hill and Austin Prohl are in a competition with one another, because similarities from a return standpoint, more so or less, they're both going to be strictly slot receivers if they end up making the team. That does make sense. Is Kelly getting cut? No, I'm not gonna go as far as to say that he's gonna get cut at this time, especially if Justin Jackson ends up if Justin Jackson ends up coming back from injury. Could I see him as an RB4? The way things are going right now, yeah, absolutely. But I still don't think that they'll actually go through with him getting cut as of yet. Yes, give me the improvement on coverage for special teams. It's probably the weakest aspect that we all saw that none of us want to stomach anymore going back to 2020. So you got to think that Staley and Darius Sinton are preaching fundamentals as it relates to special teams coverage and have to get better. Doesn't matter if it's a meaningless week 2 of preseason. It's going to get a hell of a lot harder as we get into these regular weeks of the season, and the Chargers are still it looks like they're still starting behind the 8 ball as it relates to their coverage units. So you got to get that back on track.
Any chance that Easton Stick beats out
Chase Daniel?
Chase Daniel for quarterback 2.
No, I'm sorry for all the Easton Stick enthusiasts that are out there.
Stands.
And the people that want him to be a part of this team. I have nothing against Easton Stick. I really liked Easton Stick during his first year with this team. And especially, it looked nice. Him seeing, taking off for that huge touchdown run that he had in that preseason. That was good. But he's not taking over the Taysom Hill role. And I think just from where Justin Herbert is, would you take Chase Daniel, who Joe Lombardi has familiarity with, and him being a veteran? I can't see any way that Easton Stick beats out Chase Daniel, especially if you guys have been watching and listening on practice. Easton Stick has struggled in practice on several occasions, unfortunately.
Yeah, we have a prediction from Jorge Rodriguez. Either Jackson or Kelly is getting cut. You heard it here first. Is it now? Now that the groin issue happened for Justin Jackson, I almost feel
it doesn't look good. But I'm going to say again, because of his status with the team as of right now and who you have behind them. It's not like the Chargers have another veteran, a real veteran behind them to where they could say that Justin Jackson is truly expendable. I just can't go as far as to say that right now. Yeah. If you told me right now that if Justin Jackson was healthy come week 1 and before week 1 they still end up cutting him, yeah, I would consider that a bit of a surprise.
Yeah. The Gaming Society, which I'm curious what that is. Do you think that's like an organization? Is that his like tag name? I'm very curious now. We haven't seen much from Trey McKitty. Do you think he's a lock to make the 53? Yes, I think he is a lock to make the 53.
100% is a lock. I still hope for this entire tight end group that they end up keeping 4 tight ends, because again, you talk about Jared Cook and you talk about Donald Parham doing some damage with going 2 tight end sets, especially in the red zone. Trey McKitty is going to develop into a nice tight end. Again, I'm not saying all world, as Dan likes to say, diamond in the Rumph type of quotes, but he's going to develop into a nice tight end. And Steven Anderson, for what he brings on special teams and as a nice reserve option for tight ends, the Chargers are actually really strong at tight end. They have 4 guys who can do a lot of good things for this team. So, yeah, no question there.
Yep, and Brandon Staley even called out Trey McKitty specifically today in his post-practice press conference. Man, that's a tongue twister. Saying how much he's improved. So yes, Trey McKitty is a lock. I don't see any world in which he does not make this team. Yeah, book it. So I feel bad. We went this far and we did not mention the interior defensive line in the first preseason game. Interior defensive line looked so much better than it has looked in years past. And I know this is going against their 2s and 3s, but this is also our 2s and 3s going up against them. And you saw folks like Chris Rumph, who was being disruptive on the edge and inside, as well as on special teams, by the way, blew up. I want to say it was a punt return or kick return. I forget which one. Cortez Broughton, Forrest Merrill. Like, there was a bunch of guys in the inside. Brandon Fahoko. Like, it was a good sight for them. You saw guys 4 or 5 yards in the backfield as a defensive tackle, and we're just not used to seeing that. Now, whether that's a scheme thing, whether that's a player thing, or a combination of the two, regardless, you like what you see. So overall, like, if you think about this, the defensive line, just the front, you hear Brandon Staley and everybody talk about how multiple they are. Like, it is already paying dividends. You're already seeing a monumental difference and shift in how this defense operates as a front, which is, Jake, it's so... I feel like I see like a pina colada and have like somebody waving grape leaves at me and just like palm fronds on a hammock.
What, do you need a vacation? Are you sick of talking about this?
No, it's so refreshing. I feel like I'm on vacation. I'm watching this. I'm like,
okay.
This is nice. It's refreshing, like a vacation would be.
Yeah, I apologize about not delving into the interior defensive line a lot earlier on the show because, I spoke about him as a dark horse during our interior defensive line breakdown as far as somebody that may surprise. And I thought because of truly the questionable depth that we have behind guys like Justin Jones, Jerry Tillery, and Linval Joseph, who's going to win out these battles? You have to think Christian Covington will, just because he's more of a veteran presence. He's taking over that Damian Square role. But then who else is going to be there? And one of the guys that I loved watching was Forrest Merrill. He reminded me a lot of Poona Ford, who now plays on the Seattle Seahawks, just from a strict size similarity. And yeah, dude, you throw on his tape, the dude is a wrecking ball because he's got that low center of gravity. He could be the low man. And he had one of those plays in a goal-to-go situation in the game. And I still think he's a dark horse to make the squad. I don't think that he's going to, overtake guys like Brandon Fahoko, who's looked really good in training camp up until this point. So I don't think he's going to overtake him, but definitely still a dark horse. And it was kind of bittersweet to say, hey, there we go. There's Forrest, but he's probably not going to be long for this team over the next 2 weeks, unfortunately.
His days may be numbered, unfortunately, but man, it was cool seeing him. All right, Jake, is there anything else we should talk to the great people before we log off until our next show, which may or may not be a special guest episode with someone we have not had on the show before?
Yeah, get excited about it. That's all I can say. Get excited about it because it's going to be a very nice special guest that specifically when we talk about one specific position group.
Oh,
it should be some great insight into it. That's for sure. But I feel if we blow off any more steam here, Dan, that eventually we are going to turn into the Food Network, and I do not want to bore anybody with that. So I appreciate the Gaming Society calling us out on that and stopping our banter. So thank you, appreciate it. But no, man, it was a great first win, a great start. Whatever you want to think about it from a 13-6 standpoint, it was nice seeing so many guys from a depth standpoint show out, and you just hope that this can continue not only over the next 2 or 3 weeks, who's going to win these position battles, who's going to get these final roster spots, but again, that these are going to be guys that you take into the season with you, that if that dreaded 6-letter word happens, that your drop off is not going to be that much. So that should be the biggest takeaway as far as encouragement goes.
Yep. Yeah. Big takeaways for me is the team is improving. You're seeing glimpses of why this coaching staff was hired, and their fingerprints are all over it. You're seeing depth pieces actually performing. And it's an exciting time to be a Chargers fan covering this team for so long. Like it's an exciting time. And we're excited for this next week, excited for going up against the Niners, the joint practice. Jorge Rodriguez has requested to get Staley on the show. Jorge, if we get Staley on the show, what's in it for us? What are you going to do?
Nice retort, Dan.
Yeah.
What is this? Like, all of a sudden turning into like a give and take?
Yeah, we're doing all the work. What's Jorge going to do for us? That's a valid question. He could say nothing, but I'm just figuring I'd ask. Doesn't hurt to ask, right? Look, guys, this has been so much fun. We have had so many people come in here. It's time to bolt. Jorge Rodriguez, Jed Jacobson, the Gaming Society, James Wagner, Yeet Skeet, Real Fernando Ramirez, the real one. We've had Blue Deftone, Michael, David Elliott. I can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And I apologize if I have not said your name. DVCSD also came in to say hello. We've had far too many on this one, so for us to be able to get all of them. But Jake, we always love having all of our listeners and folks watching us chime in.
And I seriously almost forgot. I will be a man of my word, Jed.
Oh, have you not sent it to him yet?
Well, I was going to tell him on here. Recipe: pineapple juice, brown sugar, and coconut amino soy sauce is what
Shout
you want.
Shout out Trader Joe's.
And when you put the marinade together, just do it in consensuate spurts. Mix it all together. Taste it with a spoon to make sure that the consistency is good. And then, again, just go in with those three and keep making the marinade bigger and bigger and bigger. So those 3 ingredients.
Okay. Yes, Jorge, obviously, we would love to have Coach Staley on the show. Of course. Of course, we'd like it. If you talk to Coach Staley, tell him to come onto our show. We'd love it. Yes, Mr. Fox, you won. You did catch us live. I know it is almost over, but hey, better late than never. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Chargers Unleashed. Again, we are sponsored by Manscaped. Use the code LAFB20, save 20%, get free shipping on all of your men and women grooming needs. Chargeable family, they've got all kinds of fun stuff going on. They have a Dan Fouts signing coming up. Brewery X up in Anaheim have tremendous beer, tremendous seltzers, and tremendous food. Check them out.
I want my next shipment from them, by the way. I'm now starting to get a little low.
If you showed up at the last time you did a live show, you could have got some.
Oh, so it's on me now.
Yeah, it's on you. Yeah, take some accountability for your actions here, sir.
You could wrap the show up now.
Okay, for Jake Hefner, the well-groomed, well-manscaped Jake T. Hefner on Twitter. Myself at Chargers Homer. You can find us on Twitter at LAC_Unleashed. You are everywhere on social media. You can find us on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, everywhere else. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We've had so much fun. We will be doing more of these later. We'll be doing some live on-site shows here in the future. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, like, subscribe if you have not already. And we will talk to you next time on Chargers Unleashed. Let's go, Bolts. Let's have some fun this week, and let's see us kick some booty going against these San Francisco 49ers. Surrender the booty, please. San Francisco 49ers. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon